mode.
Good morning. Welcome to the Experienced Career Navigators Answer Your Questions webinar presented by the Illinois Transitions Academy, brought to you by the Southern Illinois Professional Development Center and the Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Support. As we move through the webinar today, we ask that if you have questions, you raise your hand and we will be able to unmute you and you will be able to address those questions. If you have questions that you would like to pose to the group, please post those in the chat box and we can read those questions as we proceed. I am now going to hand it over to Bevan Gibson and start the webinar. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome to the Experienced Career Navigators Answer Your Questions. We want to welcome all of you, and we'd also like to let you know that we don't want to play Big Brother here or anything, but we actually can monitor if and when you decide that you're not going to pay attention to what we're doing. So we just want to make sure that you're all focused on what we're doing here today and that you can gather information. So what I'd like to do first is to thank our experienced panelists for sharing their knowledge and experiences. We have Christine Adjovic, from the Director of Adult Transitions Department at Kishwaukee College. We have Pete Almeida, the Program Coordinator from Elgin Community College. And we also have Alice Daniels, the Transitions Coordinator from Rock Valley College. Thank you. The programs we have participating today are Carl Sandburg College, Southwestern Illinois College, Waubonsee Community College, Wren Lake College, City Colleges of Chicago Olive Harvey College, William Rainey Harper College, and Joliet Junior College. So welcome to all of you. We'd like to first start with the first question, and our panelists will address it. If you have any questions during this time, you can actually raise your hand during the presentations, and we can pause for questions. Otherwise, we'll have questions at the end. Number one question is, what kind of selection or screening process can I use to choose the right students for the program? Christine, we'll start with you.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. So just to get started, the selection and screening process that we use, it's actually a two-interview step process. So the first time a student comes in, and it's an appointment-made meeting. Basically, it's me sitting down one-on-one with them and giving them a description of our ICAPS program. How many semesters it's going to be, what courses are involved, what certificate it leads to, etc. I also go over the expectations of the program as far as what is expected of the student and then what they can expect from the college to provide as well. Then it's a really kind of good time for them to ask any questions they might have about the ICAPS program. Next, I go into a tour. So our program right now is manufacturing, so I take them down to those classrooms and I show them our workshops, some of the machines, and give them the description of some of the projects they might do in class. And then we come back to my office and we do a career interest inventory. And for that I use careercruising.com, the matchmaker assessment, and that's just to kind of give them an idea of, did they rank or score in the career path of manufacturing? And if not, then, we discuss that, and if they did, then we talk about, maybe this could be a good fit for them. So I explain the rest of the application process if they want to continue at that point, and I explain what the second interview is. The second interview is scheduled on another day, and that's very strategic because I want to see their follow-through. I want to make sure that they can come out to 2 different appointments at the college, and are they on time? If they have to cancel, do they call me beforehand? So that's all very strategic. The second interview is them taking our TABE reading test, just so we know that the reading level, they're scoring at least at a 9th grade reading level. And then they're asked to bring a reference, a professional or academic reference with them, just to, kind of like a real job interview. And then lastly, I do more kind of like a formal interview with them that would be more like a job interview, asking them questions, about why it is that what motivates them, why is it they want to participate in this program, etc. So that's pretty much the main screening that we use at Kishwaukee College.
Okay. Pete, you want to address the same question?
Sure. In line with what she was just talking about, by the way, good morning, everyone. I would totally agree with the process as far as making sure that you can have something in place where you check to see their follow-throughness is what I like to call it. That's not a real term, but we want to see what level of follow-through they are displaying by coming to the meetings that are set, seeing if they're coming in on time. Those kinds of things are really important because having done this for a little while, you get a feel for the types of behaviors that are indicative of maybe a problem later on during the semester. So it's really important that you ask a lot of very specific questions regarding whether or not there's any kind of problems with their schedule that could prevent them or that would possibly change during the semester to prevent them from being, attending all the classes. So, these types of interviews, as were mentioned, are very, very important to get a gauge as to whether or not the student is really going to be able to complete the 1-year or 2-semester program.
Okay, I'm going to ask the three of you if you'll speak louder. We've had a request that you all speak up a little bit more, so just as we progress, if you each would do that. Alice, what kind of selection or screening process do you use to get the right students for your program?
Ours looks a little bit different. I require the students, they need to go through a summer program, and that question kind of overlaps with a question later of what sort of prep classes students need. But they come through a summer program, and we do have an interview with them. But just to reiterate what the other two panelists have said, built into that is seeing their level of commitment and how often they show up. Their attendance is a huge factor in that summer program of whether or not they will be accepted into ICAPS. And then, yes, we have an interview form, and we don't do TABE reading. We TABE them in math.
Okay, and that's because what type of ICAPS program do you have?
Manufacturing.
Okay, alrighty. We'll go on ahead and go to the second question. As a navigator, what is your role and interaction with the CTE instructors and the adult education instructors? Pete, we'll start with you.
My role with the CTE instructors is to be a support to them just as much as I am to the students. One of the very first steps in developing a relationship with the CTE instructors is to introduce them to the model, the ICAPS or the Accelerating Opportunity Model, so that they have a clear understanding of what it is that the Navigator does and how they can help faculty as well as the students. The second thing I do is make sure that they are aware of the student agreement that we have with our students before they start our program. And in our student agreement, we have a long checklist of different things that the students are required to do. And included in that is an authorization for faculty to share information with the Navigator, which is important because they then tell us how the student is doing. It's the best way for us to monitor their progress and to step in if needed. In other words, if the student is struggling in a particular area, that relationship that we've developed at the beginning of the semester helps when you pass the instructor in the hallway and you ask, hey, how's everything going? If there's a student that's struggling in a particular area or having a personal issue or whatever the issue might be, the instructor is free to now talk to you about that, and it gives the Navigator the opportunity to address those issues and work in conjunction with the CT instructors to help them get through to the student and also help the student fare better in the class.
Okay. Christina, you have a question? No, we don't have a question.
And that was about that she wanted people to speak up.
Oh, never mind. Okay. Then Alice.
Bev, is that better? Am I speaking loud enough?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Okay. Alice, what is your role as a navigator in interacting with the CTE instructors and adult education instructors?
The way actually Rock Valley is set up, I'm in a building that's 25 minutes away from where from our main campus where the ICAPS class is held. So that kind of hampers me a little bit in interacting with them as frequently as I would like. But with the CTE instructors, I'm just a liaison between them and the adult ed instructor and the students. I communicate with them via email as often as I can, and then I also try to meet with them a couple times during the semester to see how things are going. So I'll just go to their office and sit down and discuss each student with them and the adult ed instructor. My role with the adult ed instructor is as his supervisor, so I speak with him frequently about what he's doing in the classroom. I try to go into the classroom as often as I can and just also be there as a support to him and also to kind of guide him, since this is our first year, guide him through what he should be doing in the classroom.
Okay. And Christine?
Yeah, the other two panelists covered it really nicely. The only thing for me in particular is that our adult ed instructor, her office is right in my hallway, and so every single day I see her and we can touch base about the students. She lets me know about upcoming class assignments they might have or upcoming tests. And so it's a constant communication with that adult ed instructor. A little less for the CT instructor, but that communication is more heavy probably in the beginning and midterm. But yeah, the other two panelists covered it really nicely.
Okay.
Yeah, Bevan, if I could just add one more thing, it's really critical that the Navigator faculty and support staff work regularly. And the reason I say that is because we're the early alert before early alert. We're on before everything is on. And we're in consistent contact because we are trying to make sure that students, we get to know the students so well when we are talking with the instructors that we can foresee sometimes certain issues. For instance, math. If we see that there are certain students that are struggling more than another, we begin the process of taking them aside and actually saying, hey, look, let's take a look at some options that we have for you. The support instructor may take a little bit of extra time or offer them extra material. As a matter of fact, one of our faculty took some of the students aside and spent a little extra time with them on a particular prep for a session for a prep session for a test that they were about to have. And that's only because we've had that dialogue, that relationship that was built early on in the semester.
Okay, thanks, Pete. All right, Christine, what's the best way to follow up with your ICAPS students throughout the semester? Did we lose Christine?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I thought you said Alice. Sorry.
No.
Okay, best way to follow up with ICAPS students. You know, it kind of differs from student to student. In my case, one of my students, we kind of use our email accounts as almost like as texting. So for her and I, you know, we'll communicate daily that way. The phone, not so much, but face-to-face, I think, is really the key. Every single day that my ICAPS students are on campus or in class, I'm seeing them, whether it's because they're popping in, you know, to my office with a question, or I'm just, you know, going to their adult ed support class just to peek in and say hi and just make sure everything's thumbs up. But that's definitely weekly, if not more often than weekly. We also do teacher progress notes from the career tech instructor as well as the adult ed instructor midway through the semester, just to get some feedback from instructors. But again, the communication is so constant that I would say, yeah, follow-up is just going to happen very naturally if you're pursuing those students and if you have those relationships established early on.
Okay, great. Alice, what about you?
Like I said earlier, I would love to see my students every day. Just location-wise, that's not possible for me. I have a formal meeting with them monthly just to check in. But now that we're getting near the end, I'm going to set up office hours on that campus weekly. So I will meet with them weekly. I check in with them all the time, either via phone, texting them, email, and 4 of my students also have probation officers, so I know all those probation officers, and I can talk with them as well. So if someone's been absent and I haven't heard from them, I can kind of loop in that way, or even just other issues they may have. One student lost his home during the time, so I'm kind of working with his PO to kind of help him with that, just in a lot of different ways to continually connect with them throughout the semester.
Okay, and Pete?
We do exactly the same things that were just mentioned, so the only thing I would add was going to be that we use Facebook. I have a Facebook page specifically for the school and the students, and we share information and greetings, and that's really a good way to do it. As a matter of fact, a couple of my students don't have cell phones, so they use Facebook Messenger, and I have to leave it on during the day, so that's another way we communicate.
Okay, great.
If I could just add to, yeah, at Kishwaukee College, we do a formal monthly appointment with them as well, and that's actually part of the student commitment contract in the beginning, so that if a student is hard to reach, or if they're being, if their phone number has changed or whatever, at least we know that we're going to get that formal monthly appointment. So I forgot to add that.
Okay, and can I ask you, Christine, if others were interested, if you would be willing to share that formal contract, an example of that, so that we can possibly post that to the Transitions Academy website?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a work in progress. I've changed it and tweaked it over the semesters just to kind of meet different needs that have come up, but absolutely.
Okay. All right, let's go on to the next question. And Alice, we're going to start with you. What other resources and partnerships, either on or off campus, can be helpful to a navigator?
One of the key resources that has been helpful to me was our Dean of Manufacturing, Engineering, and Technology, and he actually, his office is next door to mine, and I can ask him just a lot of different sort of policy questions, or things with their certification, because they're getting NIMS credentials and some other certificates from the college. I can ask him those questions, or employment type questions. We also have other people around the college who are involved with manufacturing and have links to employers, so I can have them come into the classroom and talk about soft skills and then linking to employers. And just even other college departments. I had financial aid come in and talk so they can get ready. Hopefully they're all going to continue on next year to continue their associate's degree. So to get them ready to start, filling out financial aid and doing things like that. So those are the main resources right now that I can think of that I use.
Okay, Christine?
I agree with all those. The only one I would add is our community-based organizations. They really helped me in the recruitment process, especially in the very beginning of and launch of ICAPS for us. Our community-based organizations like our 4Cs, which is our community coordinated child care that serves low-income parents, Head Start program, Salvation Army food banks, as well as a human resource managers social group. I touched out to all of them to tell them about ICAPS, and that probably leads too much into the recruitment question, but they're definitely huge partnerships that served us well in the beginning.
Okay, Pete?
Again, the panelists have already touched on the exact same things that I've been working with as well. Off campus, I would just add Two Rivers Head Start, organizations that are offering scholarships for low-income students, other services, community services that are available. Especially the big one for me is going to be child well-being services. We always want to make sure we have something available for the student depending on what their circumstances, because we have a lot of parents that need services for their children from time to time, and if that's a barrier to getting them to school or continuing on with school, we want to try to have as much resource available for the students. So getting to know all the different types of resources locally is best.
Okay. And Pete, we're going to start the next question with you. What is the best way to recruit and market the ICAPS program? And I know you call yours AO, but AO ICAPS.
No, I'm still old school ICAPS. So the best way to do that is to go into our GED and ESL classes. We have been focusing on making presentations within the classrooms for the GED students that are at least functioning at a certain level, preferably above grade 6, and ESL levels above level 6, because we found that students in those groups in particular will perform much better when they get to the technical classes based on the their math ability and also their reading and writing ability. We also do high school student group presentations, tech prep, connecting with employers to let them know about our program and encouraging them if they have employees that they would like to get certified in CNC or welding. We've done a mail drive. In the mail drive, we focused on students that had attempted to take welding 101 in the beginning and maybe dropped out, or we got this list from our IR department requesting that information, and we just did that mass mail out to introduce the Accelerating Opportunities / ICAPS program and try to elicit some interest in that way.
Okay, you need to speak louder a little bit from now on, okay? But let me ask you this: when you say we go in and do this, are you saying that you actually go in and do the presentations in the classroom? Because you said we do this and we make presentations to local employers. Is that you, Pete, that does that?
Yes, but I work with a team here in our adult basic ed department. The adult basic ed coordinators here also make when they're conducting their orientations, whether it's for ESL or adult basic education, those folks that are conducting those presentations include information about our program and the offerings, and that does promote interest among the students, and then they are given my information and they reach out to me.
Okay,
so yeah,
great.
We all do it as a team.
Okay, Alice?
Similar things, reaching out to our GED students. I do, and doing the recruiting is just me, myself, and I. I go into our Bridge to Manufacturing program, which runs in the spring. So I recruit from there, and also we have our Resource Intervention Center, which is our probation program, kind of what I alluded to earlier. I got actually most of our students from there. So that's kind of, we're hoping to expand some this year. We were just going to start with a small group. This past year we started with 8. So I'm actually getting ideas to recruit and market.
Okay. Christine?
Yeah, Alice and Pete covered many of the same things that I do. The only thing I would add is that anytime you do make a presentation or send out a flyer or talk to a radio show, keep track of that. Keep track of who you talked to and when and what the result was. It'll help you in the long run and kind of be more strategic about who to market, who to go back to in the following semesters. One thing that I've also done is looked at class lists for our manufacturing classes, and I literally looked up each student to see, okay, who did not report having a secondary credential, and any of those who were kind of flagged in the system as not having a GED, I would make contact with them and tell them about ICAPS and see if they were interested in coming on board, because those students have an investment already because they're already enrolled in the class. They transitioned to college themselves. And so that's just another idea. Also, the second semester we were doing ICAPS, I decided to email a variety of manufacturing human resource personnel, and it enclosed like an email that said something like, you know, this is for any employees that you may have that need a GED credential, that are already working in your manufacturing industry. You know, this is a good opportunity for them. So that was just another kind of out-of-the-box group that I decided to market to.
Okay. We'll go ahead and start with you on this next question then. Okay. What preparation or courses would be helpful for students to complete before entering ICAPS, if any suggestion?
Mm-hmm. Definitely, you know, like the other two have said, I tend to find the most successful students for ICAPS who are already taking our adult education classes. We've also done a bridge manufacturing class, seems to be very helpful. We don't have anything formal at this point as far as, you know, a summer program or, you know, a college readiness class. I do, however, have an ICAPS new student orientation that we do each semester with that I do with new students, and a lot of one-on-one meetings with those new students to go over, you know, how to log in to your college email account, and just how to use, you know, our online learning system, different things like that. So we have more just one-on-one things right now versus kind of class structured. So that's kind of where we're at Kish.
Okay. Pete?
Yes, exactly. Very similar approaches. We too have a bridge to manufacturing, which is kind of like a pipeline for students that may not necessarily have the math levels that are necessary to go in certain programs. And so that particular class focuses on the math that's going to be needed to be successful. So we too have that, and we also work with students that are showing interest early on. For instance, I'm already communicating with students that are interested in the fall. And we have one of our pathways is dental office aid, and it requires the students to take a PSB test, which is separate from the TABE and other types of tests that we have at the college. And what I have done is worked one-on-one with those students to make sure that they take the workshops that are available here at the college, because that's really important for them to perform well. So we spend 2 to 3 months focusing on whatever area they may be weak on. It may be weak in. It helps them to be more successful when the time comes for them to take that test. So everything in line with what you just said, and just a couple other things like that.
Okay. Alice, you have anything to add?
Yeah, we actually do have a summer program, like I mentioned earlier, and that's mandatory for them to go through before they're actually accepted into the ICAPS program, but it's part of it. And we run Math for Manufacturing, in which we use the manual by Ray Prendergast from Daly College, which most people I hear from, that's sort of the definitive math book. And then when they actually, a side note, when our students got into the classes, the CTE instructor said to me, I don't know who prepared them for math, but they did a great job. They're ready for math. So that wasn't holding them back. So that was really valuable. And the other thing that we're planning to do this year is that, like I said, ours is manufacturing, and they go right away into the computer program SolidWorks. But I think this would be valuable really for any ICAPS program. Our students, most of them did not have basic computer skills. They didn't even know how to do, you know, a Word document, and then had to be thrown right into SolidWorks. So we're going to add some just sort of a basic keyboarding computer component to that summer program this year.
Can I ask how long your summer program is?
Well, we just did the math last year, and it was 6 weeks, 5 mornings a week, so Monday through Friday. And like I said, that tested their commitment to if they were going to come in July and the beginning of August every morning in the summer to talk about math. So.
Okay, great. Okay, Pete, we'll start with you. What kinds of career readiness programming are included in your respective programs? Pete?
Yep. I couldn't hear you. Sorry. Repeat that?
Oh, well, yeah. What kinds of career readiness programming are included in your respective programs?
We do resume building. We conduct resume building workshops, interview prep workshops, and we also do take some time with the students and talk about student success and how that relates to career readiness. Is it's focusing on the importance of
Pete? Okay, we lost Pete. Christine?
Sure, sure. Let's see. Well, one of the first things that we do is we take our new group of students to our Career Center and give them a tour and an explanation of the services, mock interviews, cover letters, resumes, and job search strategies. We also have a spring job fair every April that they go to just for practice, even if they're not looking for employment right at that moment in time. It gives them help for just future internship and networking building skills. We also have included a tour of a couple of different manufacturing industries within their courses. We've partnered with three different places, so they've gotten just to look at some different industries and facilities that they could possibly work for in the future. And then what we find is in their adult education support class, I've got one gentleman who just finished his GED, and so you know, some of his class times, I'm going to pull him out for, you know, just a little bit at a time and work on some of his resume and cover letter and job readiness skills. So.
Okay, great. Alice, what kinds of career readiness programming do you guys have?
I don't really have that much to add. We kind of pull special speakers in, someone to come in and talk about soft skills. Then we have I do a resume interview workshop, and I think the bringing in your career center or career services people so they know there's someone else out there. They always see my face, but someone else who can help them with interview skills and resumes is a great idea too.
Okay. All right. Thank you. The next question, I think we've kind of already addressed about how often you meet with your students. I think that most of you said that it's on a much regular basis, and Alex, you had alluded to the fact that you try to meet with them as much as possible since you're off campus. But so let's go on to the last area, and we'd like to know if there are any additional questions from the field, or any, and so if you would raise your hand, and we'll address any additional questions from you while our panelists are actually giving any final comments. So. Christine, we'll go ahead and start with you for any final comments that you might wish to share with future navigators, and then we'll field questions if there are any.
Sure. I guess my last piece of advice would be don't be afraid to change and tweak things as different needs arise. You know, just because you start you know, something in semester 1 or semester 2, don't be afraid to kind of tweak things as needed. Every group of students are a little bit different from the next. You're going to learn new things as you go, and it's okay to you know, switch the order of courses that you do. We did a focus group with students at the end of every semester, and that helps us plan and tweak our program for the upcoming semester. And so I think getting student feedback is really important. But I guess I would just say don't be afraid to tweak things as you go. This program's all about taking good, healthy risks. So.
Okay. All right, Alex, we'll let you go, and then we're going to try Pete one more time.
I would just echo what Kristen said. You know, you just, like I said, this is our first year. So just rolling with what comes your way. I'm going to need to go back to the drawing board and find a new adult ed instructor. And then, like I said, we found out midstream that our students were lacking computer skills. So let's add that, and you will be doing that throughout. It's a learning process, but it's actually been one of the most fun things that I've done at my job. I've loved getting to know the students and working together with the CTE instructors. It's been great. So yeah, just what she said, don't be afraid to, you know, dump something that's not working and change it and adjust things, and you're going to learn as you go.
Okay, and Pete, any final comments from you?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right, perfect. I apologize. I'll just touch on a little bit of what I was trying to say before with regard to student success. Part of what we do with student success is help the students to set priorities, understand study strategies, note-taking strategies, reading strategies. All those types of things are important. And then we relate it to how it's important in the workplace. So that's a career readiness, soft skills approach, if you would. We incorporate them together. So not only are we doing the resume and the interviewing, job search type workshop sessions, but we're also tying it all together with what they're currently doing in the classroom. And to answer your question about additional comments, some of the things that have helped me with working with CTE and faculty and the students is just establishing regular communication opportunities. One-on-one is best for me. And the reason I say it's important is because perception is reality. And if you don't have a relationship with all the people I just mentioned that are involved, they may misunderstand the types of work that we're trying to do, because if they don't have a complete understanding of what AO ICAPS is all about and the model and how it works, and they don't know it early on, it may be a challenge for you when you are trying to go in the middle of the semester working with faculty or support instruction or instructors.
Okay. So, Amy, I need you to unmute Christina Hutchison. Christina, you have a question, and just hang on a second, and Amy will unmute you. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm unmuted.
You're fine.
Okay. My question would be, do you use any types of student incentives, and when and what for type thing?
Well, for us at Elgin, we offer one class for free, a tuition waiver in the second semester. We tell the students if they complete the first semester successfully and they enter into the second half, which leading toward their certificate, we will give them a 3-credit tuition waiver, and that is a bit of an incentive for the students. We also offer them free loaner textbooks, so they don't have to necessarily go out and buy the textbooks for the classes that they're taking, and that is an incentive for them as well.
Christine, you want to address that question?
Yeah, I was more like those, when you see attendance start to slip, or do you do anything, gas cards or any of that kind of stuff, as far as just seeing so that they don't get discouraged throughout the semester?
Christina Zubik?
At KISH, we don't do those sort of motivation things. They do get a bus pass or monthly mileage reimbursement out of our Perkins funding, and as well as monthly child care assistance if needed, and of course the textbooks like Pete mentioned. But we don't do like monetary incentives and things like that. A lot of encouragement, but as far as monetary, our program's pretty limited to what we can give out.
Alice?
No, we do not. Kind of like Kristen said, we do bus passes and the textbooks are covered, but those aren't as incentives. We don't sort of have anything monetary, just lots of verbal encouragement.
We, in the beginning, too, at our new student orientation, they get a backpack filled with supplies, school supplies, and they are pretty surprised at getting that. So luckily I've never had a student really, they seem pretty grateful for what they're getting, which is a whole lot. So yeah, but that's what we do.
I forgot to add, yes, we do the backpack with the supplies too at the beginning, and they're super proud to walk around with their backpack.
Well, that's what we did too, and I was just kind of checking to see if you did anything else mid-semester, or because right now is when we're starting to see some of them, their attendance is still okay, but it could be better type thing. So I don't know if I needed a bribe or a big stick.
Okay. Thanks, Christina. Hopefully that answered your questions. So since we don't seem to be having any other questions, I think Sarah looked down. Oh, wait a minute. Michelle, Amy, can you unmute Michelle Lyman, please? Michelle? Michelle Lyman, you have a question? Hello, Michelle Lyman. Okay, she took her hand down. Never mind, Amy, mute her back. All right. We'd like to thank all of you for coming today. I want to let you know that This webinar will be archived, and it will be posted to the Transitions Academy website next week. So if you need to refer to anything in the future, you feel free to do so. Again, I'd like to thank our panelists, Christine Adzovic from Kishwaukee College, Pete Almeida from Elgin Community College, and Alice Daniels from Rock Valley Community College. So if you would all just let us know if you have any further questions. You can send an email to myself and we'll pass it on to any other questions to those 3 panelists. And we would like to thank you all for attending today. And we'll see you in May at the final thing. Actually, we'll see all of you at the next 2 webinars on Monday. So thank you all for attending, and we'll see you all later.